Hello and warm welcome, dear audience, to New Generation Women, and I'm Janine Tychsen. Today my guest is, what can I say, a real darling, yet she is also a very strong woman. I can't see her in the background, so I have to laugh about it, but she's a real darling, you will hear already. And she is a mindset coach for female leaders. Before I have a long intro, let's go directly to Berlin. From Munich to Berlin, warm welcome.
Yeah.
Dear Janine Tychsen. Yay, and yes, we have the same first name. That's amazing. It's so weird to say your first name, Janine, and talking about Janine and saying, I got to know a wonderful woman, her name is Janine. So I'm saying my name all over again. So that's really funny.
Yeah, the same with me. So when we've met, I think over LinkedIn, it was over LinkedIn.
Yes.
And we both thought, okay, Janine, there is only an E in between, but this is, it was a real connection and we didn't know each other,
yes.
but it feels like Janine, what can I say?
What soul sister connection. And I wanted to say this, dear audience, for that you don't know, we really just had like two words, two lines on LinkedIn. And then Janine went on my Facebook site and on my website and said, we are definitely soul sisters. And I could see the light, I could feel the light in her lines. So I was immediately hooked. And I think this is something that women are more open to have this immediate connection. But before I go into this topic, I like to ask you about your story first. And you said once in our pre-talk, my mission is also my story and my vision. What is your mission?
Wow, my mission is very, very big, very huge. But okay, I start in another way.
Please do so.
Yes, so I've been working around about 23 years in corporates and in the world of companies with huge systems, and I've been there for a long time, and I was developed for a female leader. So I've seen a lot of men, a lot of women who came from the bottom to the top, and always it was the case that I saw something is wrong with their behavior. This is not real, what I see in the woman. It's not real what I see on the other side inside the man. So, and when I developed my own leadership personality, so I was suddenly in this world, in this leadership world, in this female leadership world. And I had the experiences to dip on this glass ceiling. And I was not really believing in that, but there is the ceiling. It is a matter of fact that there is a glass ceiling. My vision is to reach every single woman on that planet, to encourage them to be themselves with her own personality in every single life area they have. That means be yourself as you are. And it doesn't matter if you have a strong opinion or not. If the system doesn't like that, then it's not your system. And this is my engine and my passion, and that's why I'm here on this world, I think.
And I like this because it comes with such conviction. I like what you say. If the system is not, if you don't fit in the system, it's not your system. So don't try to make yourself fit into the system. It will not be worth it. And when my ex-husband and I, we moved away for, we had absolutely no clue, just for 3 months, but we stayed 2.5 years to America, to California. And I was very sick at that time, so I needed to heal, but I knew something bigger was going on. And he was self-employed, he had a business with his partner, and they didn't go along, so he wanted to have something else too. We went for 3 months and we stayed there for 2.5 years. And the good part, if you're not in Germany, and I don't know if it's the same, I think it's particularly the same in Northern Europe. If you don't know what you're doing, America and California is really very allowing, or just going abroad for a while out of your box where nobody knows you, nobody questions you, where you're not in your culture that is so security driven. and the system is extremely particular strong here.
Mhm.
So in California, they were ignorant sometimes, but the
Yeah.
good part was follow your heart, and no matter what, just follow your heart, just go for that. So they were very allowing and letting us explore and ask the questions and get to know each other better, and also ourselves, and dive into different topics we would have never had the time, which became then later our value as a coach. But when you are in Germany, particular, and also in other Northern European countries, it's better if you say you're not trying to be, or you're not fitting the system. It's better to then be by yourself and just have a little island, little networks where you can trust.
Yeah.
And don't talk too loud about ideas that are not manifested yet, because there's so much negativity and question marks. And European people are like divas sometimes. They like to think it through and overthink it, which is also sometimes really good. But when you are on a new path and you're thinking of something where you still feel insecure and where you want to leave the system, but you don't know how, give yourself the time you need, and also be very mindful to who you talk. So I think this is what, and in America, we just could grow in a much more, I don't want to say childish way, but we just could grow more playfully.
Yeah.
And don't have the answers. And that was very, very important. That was one thing that I realized. And the other part in not fitting the system, I come from a very different point. Although we are soul sisters, we totally are. I also spoke my truth, but I was already self-employed, and most of my time I was self-employed. So for me, it was when I wouldn't fit in, it could just be my project, my job, just on stage. And there was a situation where I was even fired on stage, and I knew it, and I had it from my guests and from the audience. I did a really good job because I didn't fit in. And the experience was, they would even announce me sometimes. We have a great paradise bird. We have a new, we say Querdenker in German. We have a new rebellious woman who thinks outside the box. We're so proud to present. But that just took, as happy as they were in the beginning, as quickly I was out and fired again. And because, when you don't fit in the system, that's great because I want to have out of the box people. But that's not the point, because when you have out of the box people, suddenly it becomes uncomfortable. It becomes, and I think also this is why I support so much women above 40. You need to have a certain kind of experience and wisdom and confidence that is growing inside, and that takes some time to stay very clear in your side and not be too angry, too aggressive when those things happen. And be very clear and kind, but also setting boundaries, and then not take it personally. And that is wisdom, experience, lifetime.
It is.
So you want to share your story, but that is two stories that I needed to share, because that's something that we both feel we really want to get further.
But this is a very important point you made. The women 40 plus, an extremely interesting field of life, in my work as a coach for female leaders, these are the women that come to me in this age because they had a career, they were developed as into a middle or upper management level, and suddenly, oops, I'm here and now I have a family, I have a life beside my work, but I don't know how to manage all the things how I did in previous years. I don't know. And suddenly they are 40 plus and they are extremely confused. But they are confused because they have the wisdom on the one hand side, and they have the conformity, they are too conform on the other side in the system. And it doesn't fit together in this age at the beginning of the 40s maybe. And then they come to the coaching or to the workshops or to transformations or whatever, because it's to be yourself as a woman is such a long and often painful journey.
Yes, it's so good that you say that.
Yes, and for a woman in Germany or in Northern Europe, in Europe, is it mostly painful because we have to stand for ourselves. And we have to stand again and again and again and again. And it is still so that we have again and again and again and again do that. Yes. And we have to have the courage. We need the courage to be this way. And to have that courage, we need a very strong core of ourselves. So we need a personality. We need something which strengthens us. And that's why it's so important to strengthen ourselves first, from the bottom of our hearts. And then the second step is to strengthen other people, especially other women. And this is a big issue in Germany as well, to strengthen other women as a woman. Because we are not, I think we are not ready yet, not fulfilled yet to be ready to strengthen other women, because we didn't do that with ourselves.
I so agree. And sorry, the audience, I got something in my throat and I tried to swallow it. And so tears are just coming into my eyes. So if I look watery and have my mascara all over the place, it was just, I didn't want to, you know.
You look beautiful, sister.
Thank you so much. Yes, so sweet. Okay, what you said about strengthening the core, I think that is so important. And also helping each other. And I had just she's an extremely beautiful, smart woman. She just finished her PhD. And she said, I took on a job and it's going to be mainly women. And I don't know, normally I'm working much better with men, which I hear still so often. And I don't know if I can really trust my environment because it's a female environment. And I think that we get much better, and we're really working on that. We are really feeling that we are needing to be aware of that. And it's still, this is why we clicked so much and why we were so happy that we just would support each other, help each other. Although we didn't know each other so much, it was just immediately a connection of, we know, we want to support each other. But also for that, you need to have a very strong core. And I went to a wonderful coach. We just had a meeting and I had a bad day and I was talking about how things went wrong at, you know, the last 2 days. And she said, well, can I give you an advice? I think the way, and I wasn't dressed mindfully, but I was just having, you know, I was just rushing out of my house in the morning. So I had shorts on and I had a red hat on and just something, a jumper, but just really funny, creative. That's how I like it. And some long boots. And she said, the way you are, the way you show up, the way how you're dressed, as a coach, I can tell you, men are so afraid and women see you as competition. And I said, I'm so done with that.
Come on, yes.
Come on, because, you know, if you have gone through a lot of stuff and you don't want to get bitter, you take a lot of experience to put yourself up and see, I want to see the joy of life. I want to see the love of life and the connection of life. That's what we're living for. It's actually relationships when you're working, and the good relationships. And I don't want to make myself small just because anybody could be afraid of me. But I'm very aware, and I think that is something that changed so much. And I can see as an example, and she, because we know her, is Hillary Clinton when she was running for president. In the end, she became very masculine, very pushy. Now, as a man, and this is still the difference, and you know that, it's not, you know, we haven't invented the world, it's you see it and observe it, but it's still very good to be mindful about it when you are a stronger woman or when you are in a different confidence, to know that you play, not it's playing, it's you just are more mindful and sensitive with your skills and with your instrument. And because, and I was, after that 2 years, I'm very good with board of directors, but on that day, I lost them completely. It was a complete disaster. And I asked them then honestly, or the CEO, for, do they still trust? Because she wanted to continue the work with me. And they didn't say no, but they picked a partner that I've brought in and said, let's start fresh and pick him. So let's leave Janine out. That took a year of healing.
My goodness.
Because I had opened so many doors and brought my partner in, and then they chose him. But I asked honestly, did you trust, or do you still trust? But it got, you know, it's the bad stuff that really makes you learn. And I had digested and gone over that situation and that day over and over again. It was another day. And I said, what was it? What pushed them so much away? Although I know I spoke truth. I didn't fit. I didn't support the system. I didn't just, be positive all the time, because there was some bullshit happening, and I felt I needed to say that. And I knew from employees, without naming, they also said they're not walking their talk, which, happens still with top managers, that they want it, but then they're not aware of, am I walking my own talk? And then I thought, you were too pushy. You were just showing up very strong and very powerful in the way how you would have managed yourself in difficult situations. But very pragmatic and down to earth, and but that is not what they wanted. And they have been pampered, in quotes, pampered.
Yes, but
so
it's not
long.
you.
They were not used to that. And I said, okay, be yourself, but yourself has different nuances. Be yourself has different shades. It doesn't have to be black or white. Be yourself in a way that you know sometimes when to take a little bit of your force back, still be truthful. And sometimes you can bring all the power in, and then you know this is right. And after 2 years, I was very emotional. After a year, we came back. And they were there in the big workshop too, with the whole company. So it was a very big workshop with my partner, who had worked with the board of directors in the meantime. And I came with him on stage. And it went very well, but inside I had gone through so many processes that I had made peace, I had forgiven myself. I was more wise about the process. And the workshop went really well. And one of the board of directors, who I knew was the one who decided differently, he was the one who came to me, who hugged me and said, I really enjoyed this. This was really good.
Great.
So just what I want to say with the story, dear audience, is, yes, sometimes when you say this, when we stand up for ourselves, when we leave the system, when we speak our truths, it might not get the Oscar, and it might not even get our paycheck paid. So it might take a while until it heals, until you see the fruits, until you feel it was worth it. And sometimes it might take a few years. But don't let yourself be disencouraged. Don't feel unworthy. Don't take it personal.
Absolutely.
This is why we have so little role models.
Yes.
This is why we have not at the moment. We had Gandhi, we had Martin Luther King, we had Kennedy. So who is there now? I mean, who is there? The big guys, because it is not easy to stand up and be a role model, particularly in our country. But more and more people, and I think it's a time of females, are coming forward and talking their truth.
It is, absolutely. It is our time. It's a time of females. We have to grow up now, and we have to support each other. But we need women like you and me and many, many others who stand in the front row, to show that it's okay to be yourself. So, but on the other side, I'm absolutely against black and white.
Yes.
It's everything in between, and I'm fighting for diversity and inclusion. And that means here are the men in their leadership behavior from the evolution thing. They are used to be a leader. And now we are here, the women are here. And we have to climb up this ladder again and again and again. And we have to go forward with it as role models. That's why I support women so strong.
I see it the same way.
But on my way until today, I had mentors, male mentors. To be honest, between us, both of us, I have really, really often unfortunately, still the feeling when I come to a room, I feel immediately the energy between other women and me. And to be honest, I love working together with men because they are a little bit easier on that. But I'm really, really encourage the women in the room. I try to be myself, the best version I can, to get them on this area. So to get them for a discussion, to get them for open themselves. This is so important that we don't have this bitch behavior. So I don't like that. And this is part of my mission.
Yes, I so agree. And there was another story. That's not a business story, but that was a very, very healing story. As a woman, sometimes you have that good day, that really good day.
Yeah.
And you look into the mirror and everything is just like, it just is top.
Good.
I feel good about myself. Today is a good day. And that I had one of those days. I just had a new dress and it was just a really nice dress. So everything, how I felt was just perfect. And at that time I was a dancer, a late dancer, and I had also had a show. And then afterwards we were invited with the guests to have champagne. So on that day, in my shining way and feeling good, and this highlight one day, men were flirting, or men were just, I would just feel the attention. And I took that and I was happy with that. But I could see that women were really trying to cut the energy. So there was an amazing opening with the men, and there was absolutely a no-go energy with the women. And then I went home and I thought to myself, I don't like that. Yes, I did feel good about myself. Yes, it was this one day, but then the next day it might be a different day. So, and I didn't embrace them. And from then on, all the time when I was with couples or with women in a meeting room and men, I would consciously, energetically embrace them from the core of my heart. It was a very different feeling. So, you know, with energy, you can set so much the stage. And I would make sure that I mean it. And it comes from my heart, that I say, that was like almost, and I would go to couples when I see them and almost would say something charming and sweet that I really meant. But it was like almost a signal, you are safe. You are completely safe with me. And I think that is very, very important, because when you look in history, we are the first generation that really is so independent. So many women become so independent. And women were so dependent on their husbands to get married that they wouldn't leave. You know, of course you are afraid. From history, you are afraid that a woman can steal the show. A woman can take your man, your husband. And it's still the case. It's happening so often. So I think to give women a feeling of, you are safe with me. And I want to be safe with you. And I now, after I had been divorced, there was a horrible time, you know, after 15 years, I was married, and then I was suddenly separated, divorced, and my ex-husband has left me for another woman. But I cannot talk as victim, because we had talked about separation before. But then in this time of being alone by myself and not wanting just a relationship, but having a conscious relationship, I learned to value networks, community, friendship with women so strongly that I couldn't say that my partner now is more important than my friendships.
It's a net down there,
And I can say, I'm very happy that I have that independence in this relationship now, because my female network and my friendships with my girlfriends is equal. I have such a strong bond with and we are helping each other with so many things, and always giving us a hand, and always holding the space. Go for that, catch your dream. One of my girlfriends, she's a single woman and she wants to have a child. She's 43, I think now. And we support her. And I said, girl, I stand 150% next to you and behind you. And that is something that you can start to change, because you get it back. If you really mean that, you get that back. And that is something that women become more conscious and feel also more appreciative for this.
And to accept ourselves. So we shouldn't forget that, I mean, the evolution, the women's right, 100 years ago, there were fights for the women's rights, and we could elect it suddenly and everything was fine. And this is so small amount of time. It's not really far away. So to have these you said we were dependent from the husbands. We didn't get our own money, and so it's 40 years ago. It's not really
not
much.
long. Absolutely not. 40 years.
Yes, 40 years, and we are so independent right now that we have to think about it. We have reached so many things, and equality is very, very important. And I have sometimes in my coaches or friends of mine as well, they ask their husbands, can I go out tomorrow? And why you ask him?
Yes.
Tell him, do we have plans tomorrow? Or is it okay, I'm not there tomorrow?
Yes.
So equality is so important. And I don't know if you have the same experiences. When I started to be self-employed with this mindset topic, which is very, very, very close to my heart, suddenly people with positive energy, with the same energy like I have, came into my life. Mm-hmm. But I didn't apply for that, Mm-hmm. They were there, and people from 10 years ago or 5 years ago, they are not there anymore.
Yes.
Because it doesn't fit. Yes. And that's why I'm so trustful in the thing we have inside ourselves, in the female thing. So I can say that we have to accept it. That we have female, how do you say, female behavior, female competencies. We have maybe more empathy than men have, but we don't accept that. When we go to a stage, go to a conference, look at the podium. It's the same everywhere. Man. Maybe one woman for the quote. And I always ask the man who organizes this event, and he said, "Listen, we ask so many women, but they are not able to come because they said, I'm not good enough for that. This guy is better in that topic. I have these and that. I can't tell you so much." Because we have to start with ourselves. We have to stand for ourselves. We have to sit together with ourselves and talk to ourselves to be really self-conscious. But that requires a sisterhood, a real sisterhood, to promote ourselves. So, hey, come on, you can that. Yes, I can. Yes, I can that. And you can that. And I support you. I believe in you. You are good at, and so on. But in Germany, the culture is not there already.
Yes.
So.
Yes, and I totally agree. And I just said it to my girlfriend this morning. I said, if you wouldn't have been there, I wouldn't have done the channel. Mm-hmm. So it was really because of you that I decided to do it again, because my history with talk shows I could write a whole book about the no-goes, about the change in the public broadcasting industry, and then the podcast generation, and the young millennials being in podcast kings and queens with 19, which of course doesn't have the craft in that. Yeah. And a whole profession is completely changing into where everybody has a say. But of course, if you have a lot of people having a voice, then it becomes really hard to have your own voice and filter it out as an audience. What is the ones that I want to listen to, because there's so much and you get overwhelmed. And also in the broadcasting industry, how many times I heard no. Just unbelievable. How many times people would say to me, just Janine, forget about it. You must know when there's a time of saying this was it. You need to have a time. You don't become a talk host. Either it happens to you or it doesn't happen. Obviously, it hasn't happened for you. So drop it. I have heard it so many times. I was 37, which is 15 years ago. No, 16. Oh, shit.
Yes, you turned several weeks ago.
Yes, that's true.
But the number doesn't matter.
So. No, and I feel anyway like a teenager very often, sometimes like a 4-year-old most of the time. So I always have to remind myself, you're not a teenager. It was so funny, just a side story, because I had my private Pilates teacher, and he knows my age. And when I talk to him, I can also be very determined the way how I would love to have the exercise going, because I know so much about my body already. But then I had my pink hat on and my pink coat on, and I would wave him goodbye. I said, bye. And he was so struck, like this kid who was saying goodbye. She was just a 53-year-old woman, and then she says bye. But it's good to have a kid and have a grown-up woman. But anyways, talking about, again, the sisterhood and the support and getting yourself back on your feet, particularly as 40 plus women and 50 plus women, there are second chances. Yeah. And marketing or the Hollywood industry, it's not supporting it. So you don't have an industry that says you are 50 plus, you are 40 plus. we are exactly wanting you because of your wisdom, because of the experiences you have. Millennials have brought in a fresh perspective.
Yeah.
We also want to have the traditional service-oriented, experience-oriented wisdom in our team. So that is not, you know, you don't hear that. You hear more the problems. You hear more, you try more as a 40 or 50-year-old. What is the market? What is it looking like? All the 30-year-olds, all the very great PR experts who do great stuff online. But then it comes with the superficiality. It can only come to a certain extent in a superficial way, because what makes you deeper is that you have experience. And that is also meaning nose bleed. Yes, the bleeding noses are there, that you have hit bottom so that you get up and that again. And that is so important. So never ever, and then I'll let you finally share your story. Never ever think I take it personal or I have hit, but if the more you have hit bottom, the more you have learned from that, the more stand up for yourself and grow tall in that. And I wish somebody would have said this to me, because I would have saved 20 years of shame reaction, 20, 30 years of feeling shame, personal, making myself small. And this is why we do this, to give that further.
And that's the reason why we do that, Janine, because there are no support machines for those challenges you mentioned. That's why we are here, and that's why we have to be louder with all the women around us, to be the engine for them, to be a sister for them, to build a sisterhood, and to let them know it doesn't matter if there is an umbrella or whatever. Your uniqueness is the key to everything you can reach in this world. You are unique. You have a personality, and you are completely different than I am. But we are sisters anyway.
Absolutely.
And there is no challenge between us. Why should there be a challenge between us? Why is there a bad energy when I enter a room? I'm too strong, too nice, as you mentioned before.
Yes.
This is bullshit, ladies. This is so bullshit.
And
we are sisters, and we should act like that, because every single person of this planet is absolutely unique, and it's not necessary to adapt a system, to be in a system like a fish. Yes, be yourself and act like that. And I developed a short story. I developed for my work a kind of tool. It's called the Personal Communications House, and that means, imagine a house. So a house stone by stone, and the fundament, the basis, is our personality. This is the personality, and this is really deep and hard and stand for everything. And above there is the house, and there are different rooms, and there is one room is called my individual room. This is a room for myself, for being alone, and there I'm completely different than in the room with my partner. There's another room called family. I'm completely different than I am alone in my room or in the room with my partner. Then there's another room, maybe with different interior or whatever, called profession or office or whatever. And there I'm also completely different. But we have the basis. There is a fundament on that house, because you don't move the house from room to room. You go into this house from room to room, from stage to stage. And that's important to know. You mentioned that before as well. We have the space between be yourself completely, be naked with everything you have, and to be professional, but be yourself as well. And that's the space we have to fill. This is the kind of where we can support each other to show the acceptance. That's absolutely fine that you be conform in a different way, but in a way where you don't lose yourself.
And that is so important to not lose yourself, because sometimes it becomes quicker when you are aware. But sometimes as women, like in my marriage, I mean, that was so good that we divorced, because that made me the woman I am today. And my parents could realize.
You didn't know that before.
Absolutely not. My parents said the minute you were separated, you were a grown up. And that's really something. And I needed to grow up. I mean, we had built everything for 6 years, my partner and I, and we were supposed to move to California. We had structured that. We were working together. So when he left from one day to another, it was really from one day to another. I had to just do everything here. My dream was gone. My best friend and my partner was gone, and my business was gone. So I had no money and no backup. I had to really be in the moment. What's now was very stressful. But because of that situation, when some difficult situations come now, and people say, that's a bad situation, Janine. I think, oh, I have been so much worse. Oh, I've been so much worse. And I still can feel the power. But also it has strengthened me enormously. But when I look back, I see that I have lost myself in the relationship. I can absolutely see where it was needed for myself as a woman to grow. And also when I see women, when they're very, not everybody has to separate, but be mindful that when you're in a relationship, or if your husband is financing your life, just be really mindful that you don't stick together the whole time. You need, because there's an energy and you become almost one. And for a relationship and for your own development as women, it's very important that you are in your own energy. So that you can stand your own, and I can feel that. I can absolutely feel that when I see a woman. Has she been married? Has she had kids? Has she has her business?
Really?
And yeah, I can feel it immediately. Wow. Because I needed to live it, and I didn't find it easy, and I felt like a complete victim for a while, because there were not men on the market that you say, oh, the next one. It took 7 years until I was again in a partnership, because I felt I wanted to be in a conscious partnership, not just a partnership. But I can feel, if women don't do your vacation by yourself, do a retreat by yourself, take your girlfriend, but also have exploration time when nobody knows you, where you take your rucksack and you go by yourself. And I have a very funny story. I had a very large company I was working for, and we had a coaching program, and it was particularly for women, and they knew that I would take on, oh, I love your shine. You're just shining. It's so just wonderful to look at you, because when I look at you, you always shine. So sorry, I got distracted by your shine. I'm like, okay, get back on track, Janine. Sorry, I lost red line, but I pick it up again. So I said, could you please just give me women? Because I had seen so many women, so many men, and I just need to balance it out. And I felt like I was very attracted to also, it was intuitive, now start to have more women. So they have sent me, I don't know how many, it were like 380 people I had, as really a lot. And I think a third of them were on a personal level. So then, of course, if you have so many people, you are not your desire for one person is not that big. Let's say you're happy if someone goes, because you don't know how to handle it, particularly if you want to work on an individual basis. So I had one woman, and she looked like a gray mouse. Bless her. At that time, she looked very completely the difference from what I saw in a woman. She looked almost like neutral, like more like a man, and she had absolutely no shining energy. That was very heady. So and after I had the first intro session with her, I thought, oh no, not her. So I was very clear the next time, and I thought, if I'm telling this to her, she's just taking her, pen and paper, and she runs, which would have done the same. So I said to her, look, if you really want to work with me, and I'm going to be very honest with you, and I don't think that you will like it, you will go on a retreat you will have a sabbatical for 3 months, not less. You will go there by yourself, not with your partner, and we will prepare that. But you just take a rucksack, you take a 3-month sabbatical, and you do it by yourself. And I said, think about it, and then if that feels good, you come back to me. And I thought, oh, goodbye. I felt almost sorry that I said this to her. So what did she do? After a few days, she came back, said, done deal, agreed.
She did it?
And she came from a very large, well-known company that, would never do this, very conservative. And I was so impressed. I said, okay, let's prepare. And we didn't do a lot of preparation. I said to her, just send me a text message and a photo. And we picked 3 countries she would go to. And I said to her, so how does your husband feel? And she said, well, not good, but and I said to him, like it or not, I go anyway.
Wow.
When she came back, it was a different woman, because literally I said to her before I gave her the suggestion, she came to me, her tank was empty. She had no story left. She had no energy left. I said to her, what can I work with? You have to have a story. You have to have experiences. You have to find joy again. At the moment, everything is on zero. So let's have your life back. Let's feel that you are alive again and embrace life again, but don't do it with your partner, because you pull each other down right now. He cannot have, support you, and you cannot support him.
And she cannot feel herself in the core.
Yes.
Nothing at all.
And that changed so much. And I was particularly impressed because they had a long-term relationship of 20 years. I knew it was a codependent relationship. And it's very hard to not be codependent if you have in a long-term relationship. You have to become very aware. And it's not your fault or mistake. It's just human nature. You just need to know the laws, what's happening with me as a woman in my relationship, in my profession. So where do I need to be aware to become whole again? And first stand for myself, and then go into, as you said it so beautifully, into the different rooms of my house. But if I don't have that core, and we're coming back to what you said in the beginning, that base, then with my partner, I'm lost in that room. Then I'm in my profession, I'm lost in that room. Then I'm in parenting in Germany and in Europe is very entitled. Everybody knows the truth except you. So you know, if you don't know that, and only if you leave for a while your comfort zone, however you want to do it, you can find yourself. You cannot find yourself. And even if I see women who do a wonderful job, I can see if a man coached her. I can feel that in the back. I can absolutely feel if she grew independently, or if a woman has been married and wants to build up her business, and he has been very rich. And first you think, oh, lucky her. Oh goodness, I would have loved that.
But behind the curtain.
Exactly. But if she's not aware of that, if you talk business with her, she doesn't have touch reality. She didn't touch reality because she doesn't know how it is to stand up for yourself. So again, this is all in the comfort zone. And it's not because of making a career. And I think the same with you. It's, yes, we would love to see more women up front. We would love to see more women in leadership roles. But unless you don't have a calling for that, it's more be a woman for yourself as a leader in your community, with your friends, because the inspiration between girlfriends is so strong. With your kids is so strong. So you don't have to jump big. It can be this 1% change, 1% again and again and again. And it can be this, you know, if you're afraid and said, I love what you guys are talking about, but I'm so afraid. I said, I was so afraid with this talk show when I started in June. I was ashamed most of the time in the beginning until shame became so boring that I said, you know, your shame reaction, Janine, I'm so bored of you. Just get in the backseat of my car. You can talk, but don't take my GPS. It's my, you know, most favorite sentence of Elizabeth Gilbert. It didn't come from me, unfortunately. But it was so good to have that, because I had 51% of drive and passion and 49% was fear. But I had 51%. So the 51% I could move. And I think the same was you, because you didn't come with, oh, Janine, here is your self-employment. Here's what you do. I think your process developed in the pains and wounds and the spirals until you were ready to be self-employed just a few years ago.
Yes, just a few years ago. And it was only the pain. I was never ever thinking about being self-employed. It came from the intuition, from my inside world. I had no idea what does it mean to be self-employed. I went to the market and said, okay, I'm here for women. I have a pain point, you as well. And I interviewed a lot of people, a lot of women at the beginning of my self-employment, and asked them, what is your biggest pain point in your life? 40 plus women. And they told me, and they cried, and female CEOs, female managers. And I was so impressed. It was the very beginning of being self-employed. I've been trained 23 years in big organizations and companies and corporates. And then I went out and asked those women about their pain points. And it was so impressive. And it was so strengthened into going my way. that there is so much more than only female empowerment. Mm-hmm. This is really a movement what we can do with this mm-hmm. woman. And the point with being yourself you made is very important as well, because I had the conversation with my husband mm-hmm. yesterday or 2 days ago, and we said it is so healthy to have our own area, our own friendship thing. I have my ladies, he has his boys, and we have a life together. But it is so important to have ourselves, so our own lives. That mm-hmm. I have my life and he has his life. Mm-hmm. It would never be the case in our relationship because we fit extremely together, mm-hmm. and it would never be the case that he says, or he would say, no, this is the wrong life you live. He supports me wherever he can, but he's also a good critiker. He bring me back to earth when I'm so here and there. I love my woman, and when I came back from my coachings or from conferences with women, I came home and said, "Oh, I love this woman. I got to know so beautiful woman and great woman." And he's so, yes, I know. I know, it's always you say when you come back home. But he's a very big supporter, and that's why I'm so open for men and women have worked together. Mm-hmm. But as I said at the beginning, we have to fill the ladder with our experiences, with our pains we made. We have to go out of our comfort zone. We have to make these experiences. Mm-hmm. Otherwise,
yes, I totally agree. You know, and I like what you're saying. You always point a band to again and again and again. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I really like, because it's true. Sometimes you take a step, and it's a brave one, and you think, 10 brave steps, I'm done. Rest mm-hmm. of my life. Yeah. And then the next month you think, again? It's like, mm-hmm. again, 10 steps. So yes, because there is not a system that has been historically, proven, we are exploring and finding our own ways. And also, if we talk about collaborative relationship and collaborative leadership, and collaboration is one of my favorite words. So when I met you, it was immediately to, how could we collaborate? I would love to collaborate. So it's how can we collaborate also? But also, if you collaborate with a man would also, they don't understand that, and they cannot understand it. They say, women, I love women who are themselves. I love my employees and my leaders or my colleagues who are just themselves. And I say to them, just recently to a CEO in Berlin, I said, it took a long time until I got here. You have a long time. And there's a lot of conditioning also with men, and they are not aware of that. So it's not about, again, against them. It's being, sometimes you have to think for a male also. Mm-hmm. To mm-hmm. not take it personal. And I just recently, and it took me a day until I was not angry on myself anymore. It's a wonderful CEO, and we had met a few times, we had dinner together, we had talked about the company's transformation. And he talked about his transformation. He is a really conscious CEO who has done a lot of inner work. And he was very, very intrigued by inner work. So you think there's a certain level mm-hmm. of awareness. And then when his company had a huge transformation happening, so it was really on the point. And I was talking to him, he said, he suddenly changed and said, Janine, I don't want the company to see or get the impression that they don't know that you know where we are standing. So I don't want that they have the impression you don't know. And now we have to get into straight number talk. And we cannot waste consciousness. We have to go back to the facts and figures. Mm-hmm. And that is a very unconscious way of doing business right now. Mm-hmm. And my energy was absolutely gone, completely gone. I didn't expect that. And we put down the phone, and I thought, shit, that's where you lost your intuitive, you stand up for your intuition. That's where you were speechless. And I had that, or that's why I couldn't bring in facts or stand up for myself and feeling this, or being quick enough to say to him, this is exactly now. when you need to have conscious growth happening.
Mm-hmm.
This is exactly now when you make a difference. It doesn't mean that you exclude the other way of doing business, but it means that you also don't exclude the unconscious way that were there before. And I think that's what you also say when you stand up being a woman and you stand up to talk your truth. And when you are either in a partnership with your partner, or you're together and employed and together with your boss, who's a man, who's a very open man, maybe, and also a very empowering man, or with your partner in a relationship, in a romantic relationship, there will come times when you will, hit a wall. And that's when you are starting to learn, and also when you stand up and stay strong in yourself and grow tall. And that is uncomfortable, because the other one might not want to leave you there, or doesn't mean that you have to leave the company, or leave the partnership, or leave the romantic relationship. Absolutely not. But be ready that the boat is rocking. Be ready that you trigger your partner. Be ready that the male in front of you is at the moment in a very masculine young status. And he will not be able to support that. And that's when you go back into sisterhood, into female networks, into your to connect again, and then come out in a more balanced way. But I think that's a very important point to know.
This is a very important point. Just some days ago on Monday, I had a lunch with a friend of mine, a woman, and she was left 2 years ago. Her husband left her for another woman, for a younger one. She's in the 50s. And she said, when I was asking why, what was the problem with you? Why did he leave you? And she said, I developed myself too fast in his eyes. And for him, it was too confusing to be on her side anymore, because he is obviously very traditional, and they went their way together for a while, but then she makes a different development, and she's getting stronger and stronger, and be herself more and more. And he said, it's too complicated with you. I can't deal with it. I'm looking for another woman, and this was the other woman, who is not so complicated, who is much more simple. And I think, what? And that was so, it's amazing, because the men are really poor in the moment as well, because they didn't know how to handle or how to deal with women who want to grow. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
They cannot deal with that, and I understand that very much. That's why we have to talk each other, to go together this way.
I love that story. I mean, I so know the pain that she must have gone through, and I heard that also. And too complex, too difficult is then that, when you're growing, when you become stronger, then there are absolutely still labels of, you became too difficult, you became too complex. I chose a more joyful woman. I chose an easy woman. And it is extremely painful to go through that. And I went through all those pains, believe me. And I said to God, whomever, to the universe, I'm being with a woman now, because I'm done with hearing that. And then my girlfriend said, are you a lesbian? I said, no. But I want to be with a human being, because I want to expand together. And that's something, and you don't have to be with another woman, but I do see a lot of women coming together with other women. Now, that's just an assumption if that might happen. I don't know anything about that. Just for me, it was really important. It was the pain that you go through was really just, and you are then 50, and then he has a younger, very much cliche. But I do think that even if you would stay with your partner or in your company, it fires back, and you cannot fight evolution. And that is something, even if we say, I curse God, I curse my partner, I curse this life, I don't want to have it. In the end, you just face reality, and there's a kind of a radical acceptance. And that radical acceptance is painful, but it's the best medicine.
Absolutely.
And the radical acceptance is, we are in an evolutionary time, we have intense times, things are changing so quick, and we seem to be the drivers and the movers and shakers in a certain age, and even if we don't like it, we cannot go back. And we want to love and we want to experience love. And I just observed yesterday a system, Familienaufstellung, we say in German, and you know it.
Yeah.
It's working with a systematic way of being a group of people together and work, see deeper family wounds that were happening and cross-generational. And it was so beautifully done. And we talked about self-love, and I also asked at the end, so if our parents didn't give us what we wanted, consequently, we chose a husband, a partner, a system, an employee who mirrors again what we didn't receive when we were children. So everybody was showing for us for a while, okay, you don't have security, you don't have the comfort. So then you stand there, you're radical accepting, yeah, I didn't get what I needed as a child. I didn't get what I needed, maybe I chose because of that, again, my husband, my partner, whomever. Shit, now I'm by myself. Here I am again with my willpower, with my joy, with my life. But here it's all me. It's all the parts are me. And I said, okay, where's love coming from then? And he said, love is everywhere. And that was also so beautiful to learn that. Love is in those moments, it's with your girlfriends, is in nature, is in the passion, the hobby you do. Love is so big. So if we just concise it to one partner, to one company, to one passion, to our children, it becomes very limited. And if we become a vessel for the whole spectrum, then we can it still hurts if, a partner is leaving us. If a CEO says, or our executive says, I think you don't fit in the system. A nice one I had often, I think the company is not ready for you. That was what I heard very often.
Yeah, very often.
Oh, the company is like, oh, well, I never fit in a system. Nobody's ready for me. Or you're ahead of your time. It's a game of the mind. Just don't go there, because if you find yourself and if you know that you are not lacking love and will never lack love, it's just a different way of opening up. And it's a lonely way for a while, but it will so not stay lonely. Once you come back to yourself, you will have so much more than you had before. And so I think life can just trigger us for a while, but there's a point where life is also making it for you. And then don't get harsh with life, but just embrace it, because down in the end, there's something wonderfully coming. Even if it's just very different, it's still beautiful. That's how I.
And the thing about that is, love is our guide. Love guides us. I'm guiding by love, and that's a really deep feeling. So when I wake up every morning, I think about that. I think about, okay, today love is my guide. Love is my teacher. Love is my teacher, and love guides me through my day, through my life. And yes, I struggle every time, of course, every day. But I remember love is the fundamental basis of my house, of my personality. And when I feel loved, I'm not good in loving myself, by the way, but I'm on a journey and in progress. But when I'm conscious about that love is the core of my being, first loving myself, then I can give love. I can give love to the company. I can give love to my husband, of course, to my relationships, of course. And there are no people anymore in my life who have not that light in themselves. And these are the people I would like to reach with that light, because everybody has this light, but we have our experiences, we have our childhood, we have our evolution inside ourselves, of course, and we will always have this evolution thing in ourselves. And that's why the acceptance that we are much more than we can imagine, that we can think about it. We are much, much more. And love is the engine of our being, I think. And yeah, I'm very convinced about it, but it's a long journey. And I think the journey will last until the end of our lives.
Absolutely. And That's a beautiful, because yes, it's an hour. It's a little bit over
What?
an hour. Yes, it's an
Oh
hour
my
we talked.
goodness.
I know. And I
Well,
just was
time's
mindful
running.
about the time because we both need to run. It's a beautiful ending. And I also said, and I learned this from a man, by the way, who's a wonderful mentor to many, many people. Love has intelligence. Love is intelligent.
Yeah.
So there is an intelligence of love that sometimes, there's basically fear and love. So if we train that love can be also practical, that the question can also come or can be answered by love, is a very different feeling. And loving oneself, receiving as a woman, loving oneself, we talk about self-love so much. And for some people, it ends with a bubble bath. I always say it starts with a bubble bath, but then the journey starts. As a closure, what I think I say this so often in the audience, and forgive me if you get bored by the same thing, as a good reminder, just this instant of gentleness and softness and kindness, that in that moment that seems to suck, in that moment that you feel, actually, I'm very critical with myself right now. But if in that instant you can turn to yourself and be gentle, that is an expression of love. In that instant, you say, yeah, I did a really bad job, or I am very much, on the brink, or I just thought, oh shit, I messed that up. Oh shit, I have that still, but it always is like a rescue in that moment. Be gentle with yourself. No matter what, just be kind with yourself right now.
Yes.
And I think it's such a wonderful rescue, this immediate rescue drops. That's my immediate rescue drops.
Yeah.
Janine, thank you so much. We just have started.
Yes, absolutely.
We just have started. And it's such a joy to see your shine and your light. And sometimes, people buy energy. And I sometimes had to really, listen to her, because I feel your energy. I feel your shining light, and I see your face, and it's all sunshine, and it's all light, and it's all pure and innocent and honest, and just grown up like a woman with this really wonderful kid inside. And that is very empowering. I think that has been very empowering also for our audience. So thank you so much, Janine Tychsen in Berlin. Thank you so much, Maria Michael Kraus, for post-production. Thank you so much, dear audience, for watching us, for being patient with us. And wherever you are, have a gentle, kind, and soulful rest of your day. Until soon, au revoir, bye-bye. Have noch einen mooie Abend, and bye-bye.